The brazen bull is considered to be one of the most inhumane and cruel ways of executing somebody. The brazen bull was a bronze bull statue that was hollow on the inside and completely made out of bronze metal. Now, the purpose of this bull was, of course, to execute somebody in the most painful way possible. Now, the history of the ancient brazen bull traces back to ancient Greece. It's used by the emperor at the time to torture mostly Christians. If anyone was a different religion, they were going to die a brutal death. So it was mostly to torture Christians, apparently, right around, biblical times, around, maybe, 200 or 180. How does the brazen bull work, you might ask? Let's get to it. The brazen bull works simply by conducting heat. How do you cook an egg? Usually you would cook an egg by putting a metal frying pan on top of a flame and letting the egg out on top of that hot surface. Or how do you cook a burger? Same thing. You would have a hot metal surface and the flame underneath, and then you would put the patty on top of that metal surface and cook it, and it would roast. The brazen bull works in very much the same way, since it is made entirely out of bronze metal. A victim would be placed inside through a hatch at the top and sealed shut. Inside the bull, there would not be much other than just a horn, and that horn would connect to that bull's mouth. The purpose of that horn was to make the bull, or the screams of the victim inside, sound like the bull billowing. And it was meant to deepen their voice, or deepen the screams to make it sound like the way a bull would bellow. And one more touch of detail to it that it had was 2 holes where the nostrils would be. And that was where the smoke from the burning flesh would come out, like in a big theatrical display, because this was meant not only to be a way to kill someone in the most inhumane way possible, but also to be a public spectacle, and also to be a way to show the public what would happen if someone disobeyed the king's orders, or if someone ever dared to convert to Christianity, apparently, or if someone ever dared to challenge any authority from the king. And the king was a very sadistic person, but he actually did not come up with this idea. No, see, the way the brazen bull was actually conceived and built in the first place was the king simply asked his artisan to build him the most brutal way of killing someone that could also be a public spectacle that people could gather around and be forced to watch. So that artisan decided to get creative and think of the most painful way that he could possibly think of that you could execute somebody. And this is what he came up with. And the king was so impressed with how cruel it was, and he was also so taken aback with what the artisan was capable of thinking of in terms of how psychopathic this punishment was. He decided to actually punish the artisan's psychopathic behavior. He asked that artisan to climb inside the bull and test the horn to make sure that it would billow if someone was screaming inside of it. It would make those deep billowing noises. And the artisan, thinking nothing of it, thinking that the king was his friend, climbed right in and just tried to demonstrate it for him. The moment he climbed in, the latch was shut and locked, and the fire was lit below. And the artisan that built and designed this brazen bull, the psychopath that came up with this idea in the first place, ended up as its first victim. And that's kind of like poetic justice in a way. The king was so taken aback by this psychopathic behavior shown by his artisan, he decided to execute him with the device that he himself made. Eventually, the brazen bull was used several times in big public spectacles. Everyone feared it greatly. And then eventually it was apparently thrown into the ocean and buried under centuries of sand. It might still be out there buried somewhere in the ocean and could still be found. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching. And as always, see you in the next video.